Hi, I'm Justin Arnett Graham.
And I'm Nariba Shepherd.
And this is Terms of Service.
You want to start us off? Boss man?
Of course. Well, hi, Nariba. How are you?
Oh, hey, what's up? I'm good.
You
You good, Justin?
I'm lovely. Thank you. So, people are probably listening to this and wondering who we are, what we stand for, kind of what our background, and also what makes us, quote unquote, qualified to have an opinion, a dialogue, or, any sort of additional capacity in regards to the industry.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really important that we, let them know who we are a bit, right? And so let's start with how we met. You remember?
It was a cold day.
Gloomy.
It was gloomy.
Yet so sunny.
Yes, it was. So I met you because of 6 Feet Apart, which is insight into how COVID-19 sort of shook us to the point where there was no return.
Right. Yeah.
And I was surprised that I had never met you.
I was also surprised that I never met you either.
Yeah, because you're the guy that everyone, you're the guy. That guy that everyone knows.
All right.
But it was mostly around, finding people who could have conversations about the industry in a way that made people feel less like employees and more like human beings. And I think that's what connected us, was like both of us were our people that like know that the humanity is missing in the hospitality industry. And like not too many people in the industry even think that that's what's happening.
Absolutely. And I will say, to kind of extend upon how we met through 6 Feet Apart, it was obviously an internal sort of like content structure to really bring identity and additional context to, what traditionally feels like a faceless industry, right? It's, you remember the cocktail, unless you don't. But you rarely remember the person.
Yeah.
Right. And in regards to kind of the external elements, I wanted people to think of, this is potentially decimating our industry. Right. And if you're going to support, seek out those people that you have a relationship with in order to support, because that is how the community would thrive.
For sure.
Right?
For sure.
And ultimately survive through whatever sort of winding road this has been.
We are on it.
Absolutely. And what I began to realize, and my colleagues began to realize as well, is 6 feet apart conceptually, and actually, physically, as we're 6 feet apart right now. Shout out to regulations and keeping one another safe.
Yes.
Boom.
Yes. I was like, can I go? But I mean, maybe, yeah.
Yeah. Of course, you can do whatever you'd wish. It was interesting because we realized that the runway was a bit too long, right?
Yeah.
And we wanted to find a way to responsively tilt the microphone to the community.
To the people who don't have voices.
Absolutely.
As well as no faces.
Correct.
Which was like, I think one of the things that we sort of talked about when I sat down for that interview was like, you realized in this time that, and the most important thing about this for me is that we are the ones that create special moments for people. And by creating those anniversaries and birthdays and catered events, we are missing out on anniversaries and birthdays and weddings. And like, I think because people assume it's your job to do it, that you shouldn't care that you're missing those things. And I think that the only way that we can fix the service industry is also by helping outsiders understand that we are also just people. We're those people at the grocery store standing in line behind you. We're those people at the dog park. Like, we're your neighbors. We're your neighbors. We're not just the people who like drop it off on your table and bust out of there. You know, I mean, absolutely. We definitely have picked up that motto. It's like, get her done and get out. But we should try to be kinder to not only ourselves, but to the expectations that are going to come out of this. You know, open mind, more time,
yeah, etc., 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 etc. And yeah, I mean, it's kind of how we got started.
Mm-hmm. And it was beautiful.
It was. Well, my background in the industry is, you know, similar to what I feel like is a lot of people's. You know, you kind of fall into it mm-hmm. because of, you know, a potential lack of option, curiosity, you know, freedom in regards to, you know, how you're, you know, spending your time. And I realized that I wasn't necessarily satisfied, you know, writing for money. And I needed something as like a 24-year-old kid to mm-hmm. help me pay my bills and pay my way. And, you know, I started at a very cookie cutter, just Mexican restaurant in Columbus, Ohio. And some of the best people from that establishment, unfortunately, were not the owners. And it was their idea from some town in Minnesota mm-hmm. that they knew how to execute this cultural
appropriative.
Yes, for lack of better terminology, yes. And, you know, I was a bartender there, and, you know, I was making considerable money. And one day, and this is going to sound like such a starry-eyed tale, but there was this gentleman that came in every Wednesday, sat at the bar, and one day when he was leaving, he's like, "Justin, do you know why I come here every Wednesday?" I was like, "Because I keep that Diet Coke full."
You damn right.
And also, you never have to ask me for sour cream, bro. Never, because I got you, okay? So don't worry about it. And he's like, "That's hysterical, but I hate my job, and every time I interact with you, it's so sincere and so authentic, and that is what propels me through the remainder of my week."
Aww.
And that just kind of made me realize that hospitality was less of, you know, a four-walled industry, but an emotional connect. And that's kind of where, you know, I started. I'm originally from Chicago. You know, I mean, grew up on the north and west sides. You know, shout out to Logan Square. Hello. But then also grew up like super far north, like virtually Wisconsin, Round Lake Beach, Grays Lake.
Hot damn.
It's Wisconsin. Anyhow. And I came back to Chicago after some considerable time away out east. And, you know, as I had mentioned that I was kind of sparked into being a part of this industry, I just wanted to learn more because I realized that I started at food service, but I wanted to elevate to the level of artistry. Mm-hmm. And that is why I came back to Chicago, because this was back when, you know, Alinea and L2O were the only 2-3-star Michelin establishments in the entire city. And I was just like, this is where I need to be. And this is where I came.
So I started about 10 years ago, realistically. And I always wanted to get into cooking. And because I am from Trinidad and my mom is foreign, she
Shout
made
out to
sure
the islands.
she made sure that I like had a degree in something that I could use just in case I broke my foot. And as soon as I graduated, I did a culinary program out of a food bank in Burlington, Vermont. Awesome. And I was like, I have to move to a city so that I could continue to grow in a culinary sense, because there's like 25 restaurants in the entire state of Vermont. But when I moved to Chicago... I'm sure
they're delicious.
They are. Shout out to Vermont.
There we go.
You got good foods and maple syrups.
Yes.
And cheddar.
All right.
But when I moved to Chicago, I sort of ended up just falling into fine dining. And I think in a way that it was a blessing, but it was also a curse because you have to filter out a lot of bullshit essentially to make it in this industry.
Of course.
But by moving to Chicago, I was able to further my studies and my creativity, and like I think working at like Blackbird and Green River and those places like really helped me appreciate food in a bigger sense.
Of course.
But it also taught me a lot about what I learned when I was in college, which is you need to put your mental health first. And I think that by having a degree in human development and family studies, I was able to communicate with my staff in a more efficient way by the time I became a chef. So that's how I got started.
Love that. Okay, perfect. So I wanted to start a podcast.
And I was minding my business.
Because I was looking for ways to increase being a potential asset to the industry, because it wasn't always just financial with me. It was, freedom of creativity. It was freedom of expression. It was also freedom of acceptance, because similar to, my background and my lifestyle, it hasn't always been the easiest to just freely be who I am.
Do you mean as a brown queer?
Facts.
Yeah, okay. Just
that
checking,
part.
Because same.
That part, and so just being in the industry similar to you for, 10 years, a decade. Right, and just seeing the possibilities of the industry go in ways that literally no one ever imagined. And
for real though.
Yeah, for real. And you start thinking more and more and like longer and harder about some of these 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., even, 5 a.m. conversations that are just like, how can I, either elevate myself or how can I elevate, my position just like within an establishment, right? And there's just so much to navigate. And I think that we talk about ways of navigation through such a, convoluted lens because there's so much of it.
And also it hasn't changed in over 100 years.
Right. And so, 2020 is 2020.
Yeah, 2020 is what it is.
Right. Absolutely. But there's so much potential positivity coming out of awareness that I think has been the main driving force behind getting this off the ground, because the things that the industry talks about, it's for the betterment of all of the industry. And if we keep acting like it doesn't exist, then we can't champion for the change that we supposedly want without providing a road to redemption.
And by we, it's like not everyone will feel the same way that like we will feel or we do feel about certain topics. But I think we're also making it a space where people can learn about things that they might not have necessarily had to have encountered
Right.
in their particular bubble in the industry. Because like a lot of these problems are rampant, but there are some magical places where people are good people.
Completely agree. And just in addition to that, I realized just looking through my time throughout the industry that I have been able to succeed at a certain rate that is, almost unheard of by some colleagues of mine.
You damn right.
Yeah, and so is it because, I'm like the funny, sassy, like, light skin, like, brown skin.
You're acceptable.
Right.
You're
acceptable passing, whatever it is, but that's not okay, right? It's not okay. And that is what, again, prompted me to want to do this and put this out there, because it's less about me. So when I say that my experience in the industry is different by comparison to people that look like me, the advantages, unfortunately, don't seem to be the same or even near to one another.
You have to look a certain way. You have to speak a certain way for people to take you seriously enough to like give you responsibilities. And I think that what I've begun to learn and having friends in the industry in other states is that it's not like it is here everywhere else. And I feel like what we're going to be talking about is going to be different if you're outside of the state of Illinois, because people forget that Chicago is in Illinois all the goddamn time.
Yes, spot on. Absolutely.
I think that and like this is also from like my experience as an acceptable brown person, is that you can move further in the industry if you're not making any waves. And I think that as Black and brown people, we grow up learning not to make waves because it's a safety issue.
Yep.
So
the less eyes on you, the better.
Yeah. I mean, like, I learned a lot from going to college at the University of Vermont, which is be white, about, how to fit into certain situations without making other people feel uncomfortable. And I think that the way that I was able to move so smoothly in a fine dining community is because I was perceived to be very educated, well-spoken. Also, something that I've heard a lot is not like other Black people.
Same.
And, and like, it's our closeness
heard that a week ago?
Yeah. And it's like, it's more about our closeness to like the European standard, which is a lot of fine dining.
Well, I mean, basically we can just call it like it is. It's just,
white people.
The closer we are to whiteness helps in
being able to move.
Right. And a lot of elements of this industry. And this is not something that should be shocking to the people that are listening to this right now.
But it is, though.
But it can be. Yes. I just think that it's really really necessary to bring to light these sort of like dark side of the plate conversations, so we can all get better and have tangible resources to help heal our industry. So when we're talking about wellness, like, yes, we know that we shouldn't be up until 4 or 5 a.m. and then, like, you know, opening the next day on like a Saturday brunch shift. You know, yes, we know that. However, there is a coping mechanism that is rampant in our industry. And obviously we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
We're going to want to hear from, you know, our listeners as well, so we can dive into to these things. But yeah, it's like we can go on and on.
Yeah.
Obviously. But, you know, we're just getting started, which is exciting.
So I became a part of the podcast by accident.
Terms of Service podcast.
Terms of Service podcast. I became a part of it because I was asked if I would be interested in doing the podcast. And because I'm someone who is burning on the inside about all of the feelings that I have inspired by this industry, I was like, hell yeah, I want to do that. But I didn't know that it was like I would be co-hosting. So when I showed up for the meeting, I was like, yeah, we're going to talk about the episode I'm going to be on. And then I was like, wait, y'all want me to talk?
Yeah, I was
about
like,
all
how
the
about
things?
every episode though? That
okay
would
with
be awesome.
I'm okay with that. But the reason that I wanted to do it with you is because you're allowing for a conversation that we do keep behind closed doors and in like secret hallways and 3 or 4 shots
Walk-ins.
deep. Yeah, walk-ins. Oh my God, crying in a walk-in.
Rite of passage.
Rite of passage. Oh my God. But I think that it's important to also have voices that haven't been heard in the industry talking about it, because I feel like, in a sense, even though like I was an executive chef, I think that oh my God, I'm sorry.
Just
The point, I think the perspective of someone who still remained a person to a certain extent, and being in a leadership role and seeing how, you know, I didn't want to be treated, I was able to not treat my employees that way. And I think that when COVID happened and everyone sort of lost their jobs, it allowed for the conversation to go beyond the walk-in and the bars and crying in your bed in the middle of the night, calling your best friend who doesn't work in the industry, because, you know, you need that.
Been there.
So
Could still be there.
Still there.
Yeah.
Still there. I just wanted to take the opportunity to say things that other people might be afraid to say because they're afraid of losing their livelihood, which is a big thing that happens in this community. And it's like, if I'm going to burn my name to the ground, I should be doing it with Justin. So.
Well, damn.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
And
yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I needed a moment from that. Thank you. Yeah.
Sorry, not sorry.
That was, how are you doing on your drink?
This drink is delightful. Are we allowed to, can we talk about this drink now? Or is that what we're doing? Oh, okay. So what we've been sipping on as we've been talking.
Do tell, pray tell.
Is a refreshing beverage of no booze.
Spirit free.
Do you want to talk about, do you want to talk about like.
So, yes, I do. I do want to talk about it. So.
Should we start with the non-booze component
Correct.
of this non-alcoholic beverage?
Yes.
And then we'll talk about the artist behind it.
Yes.
Yes.
So as this platform develops, we wanted to make sure that we were anchored in a certain level of consciousness. And some of the things that we're going to talk about, the things that we're going to explore, we want to make sure that it's done in a respectful way. And we also want to allow this platform to be a resource through all elements of the industry, food and beverage. And not only the beverage that you're familiar with, but beverages that you may not have heard of before. And I personally can speak to, just becoming more conscious of my own wellness. And, I like to hang out. I like to have a great time. I like to, I like to get a little faded.
I like scotch, so I get it.
Yes, like I like to, decompress, or, as Ernest Hemingway would say, bleed on the typewriter.
Girl.
Like you sit there and you bleed. But anyhow, there is great, beautiful artisanal products out there for those that are sober curious, which I didn't necessarily realize until I was introduced to Ritual Beverage. And I mean, when you talk about sober curiosity, what I've realized is when people feel this like stigma about drinking, it's less of what's in the glass, but more so missing out on the experience of it. It's
having like an actual beverage that tastes like a cocktail and not like a sippy cup of
or
juice.
soda water with lemon, which that's fine, of course. However, it's like you're in the middle of a great conversation, you're having an awesome time, and, who you're talking with goes outside to smoke a cigarette. Whether you smoke or not, you might just go out there and join them because you want to keep that experience alive. And so it's great that we're able to partner with brands that believe in the consciousness of wellness. And Ashley Christine of Garnet has just killed it with her like riffs. Would you call them riffs? No, not at all. No, I don't think they're riffs.
I think they stand on their own.
Absolutely.
For sure. The one that we're sipping on right now is a tequila. Can you hear the air quotations in my voice when I say tequila? It's a tequila cocktail or mocktail. Are we okay with mocktail? No. Spirit-free. It is a spirit-free tequila beverage. And this one has what I was explained is a clarified apple juice that is... What are y'all laughing at?
No.
Is it good? Okay.
No,
it's
you're
a clarified apple juice. There's 3 different types of green tea: matcha, China green, and kombucha matcha. Green. And this is based off of her favorite hot bev in the fall times, which is
welcome to it, which is right now
apple cider and green tea.
All right.
And it, for me, the most interesting part of it is the Persian lime on top.
Agreed.
And the whisper of cardamom, which is delightful. I think it's delightful. And the sipping quality of it is amazing.
That is where I personally love it.
It's not it's like juice and I will drink it now. Oh my God, where did that accent come from? Sorry. It's not just someone threw some stuff in a glass and put it out there. It's completely thoughtful, and I think it went in the same direction as I would look for in a cocktail when I'm allowed to go out and drink again inside of a bar. And also what I've noticed from not being in work mode all the time is that my drinking has significantly gone down since all of this has happened. And sometimes I want to have a drink with my roommate when she comes home from work, because only one of us is working right now because it's end times. but I don't want to have an alcoholic beverage. And I feel like these spirit-free...
You want the experience of the drink.
Exactly.
Without, you know...
pounding it all the way down in like 2 sips because it's delightful.
Right. Of course.
So our second beverage is what Ashley referred to as the elixir of life. But it's just
all right, come
it's
through
a
elixir of
healthy
life.
boy.
All right.
She a healthy boy.
Yeah. She got body.
She does have body. It is a like very thoughtful play on like the botanical nature of gins, but she like really reached for that vegetative state.
Vegetal.
Vegetal
quality. Yeah.
It definitely has a green juice. It's a green juice base with ginger, serrano, pineapple, poblano.
So it's got some spice
and
to
roasted tomatilla.
Okay, so
is that my ASMR part there?
Yeah. So it's got spice. It's got a little bit of attitude.
A little bit of grapefruit. And it's garnished with a beautiful mint crown that you can't see, but smells delightful.
Absolutely.
And even though this one is like, I would say a little bit on the sweeter side of the two, it's not juice. And it's something that you want to sip and not just pound.
Absolutely. It's something that you're enjoying throughout.
I will say, though,
consuming the cocktail.
That if you're
the gin alternative beverage.
I will say if you're a person that likes very, like, I don't know, if you I keep wanting to say if you fucks with juniper. If you fucks with juniper, this might not be the gin for you. It's more like on the aquavit side, but it is delightful as is.
Boom.
State of the industry. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think there's a podcast by the name.
Terms of service is better.
Oh, absolutely. It's a double entendre. State of the industry, but it's fine.
Yeah.
So obviously I like double entendres. It's fine. You know?
It's what you do.
It's what I... And now this is now I'm personally feeling good. I hope that you are as well.
Yeah.
You know, just...
I'm like...
Right. You know, it's just... Forget all this. You know, it's just two gals chatting it up.
Oh my God. You're right. And Max.
Hey, Max. And Ashley and Dov. So, you know,
we're just... the first one.
Yeah. So, you know, we're all chilling together. But I'm ready to go whenever you are. When it came to start figuring out studio spaces and, you know, what sort of aesthetic we wanted to produce in this regard, we wanted it to be hyper reflective of the state of the industry, right? So there are countless businesses that have closed or could potentially be on the brink, or they're just not fully operational due to, again, the, you know, coronavirus pandemic. And we wanted real. Absolutely. And I thought that it was really important to, as much as we're tilting the microphone to the community of hospitality, we wanted to also include the spaces of hospitality, right? And, you know, today we're really fortunate to be recording from Blind Barber Chicago, like located in the West Loop, Fulton Market. And, you know, they're great friends and, you know, really have always been a place for, you know, intersectionality of creativity.
Oh, I thought you were just going to be like others.
And others. and others.
Yeah.
And so I think that, I know that it's important to highlight not only their commitment to help uplift industry voices, but to also, just let people know that these places are still in existence. But, the energy is not only of the four walls, it's through every person that has and will come through this building again. So.
So like
what do you want to talk about?
I don't want to talk about a lot of stuff. But for me, coming into this, there was already a level of like shedding my own shit about the industry, sort of. And I like had a lot of conversations with my mom about doing the podcast, and because surprise / spoiler alert, I'm not an American citizen. My mom's very foreign, and because my dad
from?
Trinidad. Oh yes, I'm from Trinidad and Tobago, small island off the coast of Venezuela. And for my mom, she was very protective of me because my dad was the editor of a newspaper, and he was banned from a lot of places because he only spoke the truth. But I think she's nervous for me about talking up about something that seems to be so hush-hush. And, for example, like sexism, racism, like verbal abuse, which a lot of people don't like. Wait, let me take that back. A lot of people know about because of a certain man who made it his entire livelihood by being a D-bag on TV as a chef. And
some would also call this man a douchebag, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think that like I just don't care anymore, and I think we need to talk about these things. And my mom wanted me to like be careful of how I'm talking when we start recording, and
which is now,
and I just don't want to not say the things that I haven't been able to say for 10 years. And I think it was frustrating hearing my mom telling me to watch what I'm saying when I'm used to specifically men, because that's like, a large percentage of the people who dominate the food service industry, tell me no, that I'm wrong and that I don't understand how things work. But like, what if we change the way things work?
No, they're not gonna like that.
No,
not at all. And especially when we start talking. Period. Actually, like when we start talking.
Yeah, I mean, some people are already upset, and we haven't even started talking.
Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think it's really a unique perspective to come from a truth speaker's reality.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I've experienced within this industry is a lot of times it's been truth skewed.
Mm-hmm. Truth adjacent.
Yes, it'd be truth adjacent. And be like, well, it's this way because I feel like it's this way, and that's it. And that in and of itself is, one, it's confusing, and
mm-hmm.
two, it's borderline abusive, but it's all the way just bullshit, and
it's like that parent thing that parents do. I wouldn't know, but they're like, do as I say, not as I do.
Exactly.
And that's the entire, like, at least from a back of house perspective, that's how it has been. It's like, I've worked with people who are like, this is how we do it. And then I turn around and they're doing it a different way.
Never seen
and they've
it
never
done the way
they've never seen it, never done it, never been there.
Yeah,
like,
don't know her, not at all. They're just like, not over here.
Not never.
None ever.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Okay. And it's it's high time for, just to like cut out all that extra shit, right? And I feel a lot of that comes from accountability, right? It's just like you not only fundamentally have to hold yourself accountable, but you should be holding, leadership, ownership accountable. And the community should also be holding itself accountable.
Yes. And
just with the, current state of the world, but specifically the industry, the idea of businesses being operational in the fractured state that they are, but then external community be like, it's my birthday. Shout out to you, ma'am, you're 50, but also shout out to you. Congrats. Yeah. But there's no sort of humility. There's no sort of empathy to really try and, identify with, who's helping to create this experience for you.
Exactly.
And yeah, is it a bit of, a class war currently? It can feel that way because we know how the industry works, right?
Yeah.
So I'm talking about it from a front of house perspective, but basically, in order to get your benefits, it is X amount of hours averaged over a course of so many months, and you qualify for, a certain range of benefits. The shutdown happened in March, which means that you're coming fresh out of, the holiday season, so you might be feeling one way or the other, or just because how some organizations like to staff their
establishments.
Yeah, staff their establishments and, personal opinions over others and so on and so forth. It could mean that certain people lose their benefits, right?
Yeah.
And so shutdown happens in March. You have 2 back-to-back stay-at-home orders. Then when things start lessening, people get called back to work, right? But it is a global pandemic that not only sends people to the hospital, but also to potentially their graves. And these people haven't been working, so therefore some organizations decide that they're no longer going to be paying their benefits.
Exactly.
So they've come back to work in order to provide a service, but the community in which that is wanting to be taken care of is not being mindful of the fact that these people are literally putting every element of their livelihood on the line, because it is a privilege to be able to get sick and know that you'll be taken care of.
Exactly. Which is already a thing that we have normalized in the food service industry, is no matter how bad you're feeling, you come into work because either your team is going to have something to say about it, or B, you can't afford to not work, because a lot of the times you don't even make a livable wage working in this industry if you're not a tipped employee.
Right. And then that just kind of opens us up for so many different additional, topics of conversation.
I think they'll know where we're going.
Yeah. I believe so as well. And just, I talked about, some things that I wanted to mention was accountability, community, but then also the outside elements, like outside industries, the perception of this industry, right? I learned very young in my career within this industry is that it was an honorable thing to be able to take care of someone else.
Okay.
And when people forget that and feel as if they are
above,
correct, they are deserving, they're entitled to that, it's really unfortunate. And especially when you have people out here that are freaked out because they're delivering a plate from the kitchen. You don't want to put your mask on. They end up, getting sick. They might be fine, but then we all know that you can pass this on to someone else. It's just, this has shown, in my opinion, how close we all are to one another.
Oh, yeah.
Like how intertwined we all are to one another, but yet how much we don't give a shit.
It's hand in hand. It's like
Absolutely.
a hand in hand relationship between the employees of the industry and customers.
Right.
And
it's like this weird, just like,
without one, there cannot be the other.
right. Right. It's just like, I'm only here, ma'am, because you're here.
Yeah.
So welcome. And, let's get to it. But let's get to an abbreviated version of this, because dining is going to be different. It does not matter if you have an opinion to where it's going to be different or not. It's
going to be different.
It's going to be different.
I walked into the food service industry, like, not knowing how sort of like fucked up it could be. But what I will say is that I never expected to not have a job when I entered the food service industry. And I think that that's what we all thought, because, we always have something in our back pockets.
Right.
But if our back pocket is the whole industry and is gone because of an airborne virus, which is like, who's it gonna affect the most? Us.
Absolutely.
We are in small spaces. Back of house and front of house share the back of house space. And there's still like a minimum of, right now, this sign says 95 people are allowed to be in this space.
Right. But technically, no one's allowed to be in this space.
Exactly.
Now. And yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. It was like, it's 95 people are allowed to be in here. And that's from a business perspective, like, you're going to make X amount of dollars. Mm-hmm. But how can you carry that into, what are we at now? Like 25% capacity?
Oh, I mean, there's, 0% occupancy.
No, I'm talking about that indoor-outdoor dining. When you could be indoors if you're outdoor.
Oh, right. So I think that was like 25%.
Yeah, 25%. You can't say that you've made enough money that night, like, for 25%.
People like to really dance, between that 2 and a 5, because I've definitely seen a 52% out here. And I'm just like, okay. And on one side of the coin, I completely understand it. Do I empathize with it? Absolutely not, because I feel like it's irresponsible and I feel like it's reckless. And it's very easy to make these decisions from like an ivory tower, because the effect is not, it never reaches you. Yeah. It's just like, oh, well, that's unfortunate. And I'm excited to be able to talk with you with, just some potential guests that want to really focus in on, just a lot of the bullshit. And also, I don't want this to come across as just like, oh, it's just like, these two people are just bitching and moaning about the industry. They hate it so much. Why don't they leave it? Just like, why don't we flip that? It's just like, if we give a shit so much, then why don't we try and fix it?
Exactly.
So,
and in the same vein of that is like, if we are talking about the general like population of the industry, not everyone can do that. Not everyone can leave and do something new because this is what they've dedicated their lives to. A lot of people don't have a college education within the industry like that I've worked with. And, even with a college education, I can't find a job right now. Right. So it's like, you're shit out of luck either way.
Right. And I think, again, just like, kind of outside perception on the industry is, it's kind of it's a fleeting industry, right?
Yeah.
Like, you treat it like double dutch, right? Like you're in, you're out. It's just like, you might turn yourself all about. It's whatever you want to do. But it really, really connects back to, this is people's careers.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like if this seemingly was decimating other industries, I mean, there would just be tons of talk around it, right? And, you know, just another thing that I just want to touch on briefly that we're definitely going to dive in deeper is the role of media within the hospitality space in general, I think is just skewed, to say the least. And, you know, to go back to why I was interested in doing this podcast is so it's in response to that. Yeah. You know, it's just like the establishments, the initiatives that are going on out here. It's not the product of larger scale groups. It is on the backs of the efforts of like mom and pop shops. Exactly. You know, it's just like all of these places doing anything in their capacity to make sure that their community is fed, their community is taken care of, because they identify and truly believe in the fact that hospitality is a communal common thread. Yeah. Like that's exactly what it is. No one's asking you shit about you when you walk in the door. They want to take care of you.
And what I have noticed in this time is that the places that are able to stay afloat and keep going are either one, places that have a very well established like client base who's willing to spend money even when money's like pretty difficult to come about these days. But also the fact that the people that are mostly trying to save these places and giving the money that they don't have away are service industry employees. And we can't expect to save our own community without the help of the larger community, which is everyone that ever sat down at a bar on a Friday night and had a drink and talked to your bartender for 30 minutes. Exactly. Give us your money.
Precisely.
Yeah.
You know, and then you only thought that it was okay to tip them 10%.
Never again.
Like, never again.
Never
and,
again.
You know, we most certainly will go into, you know, just like some tip structures out here, which are just crazy as hell. Because what I also think that people don't know outside the industry is that there is a percentage of tip out based off of your bill. So therefore, if you decide that you're not going to take care of the person performing the service for your experience, they will then come out of pocket to pay for your meal. Yeah. They don't know you.
They don't.
Sir.
But they hear.
Right
and
now.
They think they have opinions.
And, you know,
I mean, everyone has an opinion.
Absolutely. You know, say what you got to say.
But you might be wrong.
And you know what? And
that's okay, too.
That is okay.
That's okay. I'm not always right.
I mean, I'm not always right either. But, you know, I'll listen to you, you'll listen to me, and we'll get it done.
True.
Yeah.
Aw.
Right.
Yeah.
It just, when I think of potential guests, confirmed guests that are in the pipeline, I want it to be in reference to highly topical conversations, right? So there are so many different aspects to the hospitality experience that, you know, I think sometimes we forget what goes on, you know, in the sector, which is the wine world, you know, and also there was just, you know, such an uprising in, you know, civic protest. Yeah. You know, because of like racial inequities, but then also you have to take a step back and look at brand partnerships, right? Like the feeling and the weight of influencer culture on the industry. True. Like, what does that translate? What does that mean? And yeah, those have real effects. Yeah. To where, you know, because you have X amount of followers on Instagram, you feel as if like you can create something that people have spent their entire lives perfecting.
Yes. That's That is accurate. I think that whenever I think about influencer culture in the food and beverage industry, I think a lot about the fact that people aren't coming in to help restaurants do that necessarily, because not everyone can afford that luxury. So now you're splitting that new responsibility of like trying to market yourself and your business on the backs of overburdened people already. So like every picture you see is probably not a photographer coming in to do it necessarily. It's a chef, a line cook, a general manager, a server, taking time out of their already like busy schedule to make this thing happen, to bring more people in who ultimately don't necessarily care about the people who made it happen. They just want to take a really nice picture of the thing that they saw online.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so they'll hold up their phone and be like, I want these.
Yeah.
And it's just like, all right, cool. Do you know anything? No, it looks really pretty. Oh,
do you have any allergies? Because all of the allergies are inside of that picture.
Every single one. Okay.
I love customers.
Same.
Yes.
Same.
Yes.
You know, yes, absolutely. And then another part of guest, right? Excuse me, not guest. Well, yeah. Guests here. You know, guests on this platform. It's a full accountability spectrum, right? Because there have been platforms that have been established that have done, you know, really some substantial work in spreading awareness of internal darkness within some of the most prestigious environments, right? And, you know, that brings me back to media.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, yo, are you not conscious? Are you not, you know, mindful? And do you not really believe in the due diligence of vetting who you're supporting?
It's a very strange curtain culture, I would say.
Curtain culture?
Yeah, you know, like, I like tarot cards.
All right, well.
And there's like...
Teach me.
There's the Nine of Cups has like huge curtains in it. And the whole thing about that card is everything in front of it is like really presentable and put together, and you feel like you've accomplished so much. But behind the curtain, there's still a lot of work to be done. And I think that's where we're at in the industry. A lot of places look real good, feel real good, but as soon as you turn the corner, it's like, damn, why do I have to stop giving this person money when I really like their product and I have used it for so long?
Right.
And now it's like, you know?
Right. Well, it goes back to what I had mentioned earlier. It's just like, if you're going to champion for change, you have to provide a road to redemption.
Exactly.
Right. And so that is so important, to be able to talk with individuals that may not share the same point of view. Like, you know,
I have your experience, but I get it. I know.
It's just like, you know,
I'm gonna grow up.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's you know, your experience in back of house, my experience in front of house, and really drawing those alignments between both of them. It's always been, you know, them versus us, and like,
and
blah, blah, blah,
which
like
is wild when it is like, literally, if there was no front of house, like, cooks, we shouldn't talk to people. We should not talk to people. And then like with front of house, it's like, if we weren't back there, like making food, that's a job market.
Well, and also I would say that, you know, some front of house people have no business talking to nobody either. So I mean, it goes both ways, actually.
Yeah.
So
it's just it's weird that there's always been such a division when we are literally on the same team.
Absolutely. And
I'm not gonna lie, I did grow up in kitchens where it was like, you know, everything is a front of house's fault, and like we were brainwashed to believe that. And it wasn't until like I was in a kitchen and like realizing that I'm being the asshole that my boss was, that I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Maybe we should have a conversation and figure out like why it is you feel the way you do, why does I feel the way that I do, and maybe we can meet in the middle. Maybe. Or maybe I just need to like have a food truck that's just me.
You're just or I'll just ride off into the sunset and be like, well, you know what? I tried. I mean, like, I really tried.
Bye, Felicia. We out.
Right. And that is where it's, you know, the overarching theme of wellness. Yeah. Right. So mental wellness, physical wellness, financial wellness.
What's that?
Like,
who that is?
Like these are real things. Yeah. And, you know, shit. Yeah, we're going to talk about all of it.
Yeah.
All of it.
In time.
Mm-hmm. In time. Yes. One episode at a time.
So Justin, when the world comes back
in whatever
way fashion,
it may be, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes. What are some of the highlights that we can, you know,
look forward to? Well, so thank you so much for asking.
No problem.
I again want this to be a community platform and a community resource. So what that looks like is, you know, is going to be ideally as unique and diverse as the community in which we
are structuring.
We're structuring, and then also being a part of, you know. So, you know, there'll be video content. Yes. There's nothing wrong with, you know, having recorded audio of like Zoom conversations. Mm-hmm. I think that that's necessary, and I think that that is a great asset. I do want to look into more richer and sustainable content. Mm-hmm. I do want to start having a, you know, kind of live broadcast format. Mm-hmm. And then also really bringing in all different elements of the hospitality experience. Obviously, we do have some brand partners, but then we also have great relationships with artists that, you know, we all know that the creative thread runs extensively deep within the hospitality industry. But then also on top of that, wellness is another thing. So how can we structure the community in which we're trying to build to challenge and expect more from their collaborators, right? Like,
I mean, you know what the original form of social work is, right?
Tell me.
It's feeding each other. Literally, this is the oldest form of social work, and we have turned it into this.
Well,
so I think it's time to go back to that.
Right. Yeah,
I think that by like bringing forward a lot of the like parts of the service industry that sort of build it all into one, and like, you know, extending a little bit on the relationships that different spirit companies
and spirit free
companies. I think by getting people to learn a little bit more about food and beverages will help connect them to our community a little bit more.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that by highlighting certain brands and houses and talking about mental health and well-being and having the extra content online, so you could, like, you know, put a face to our beautiful voices.
Oh, absolutely. And then also give you the tools necessary to build out a well-rounded ecosystem, you know, and
with our new friends and our new family. That's you, Max.
What up, Max? Max is our writer, and
we love him.
He's amazing. So he keeps us together.
On task.
Absolutely. So,
yes.
the journey to this podcast, was really, just anchored years ago in like consumer curiosity, right? Like I was bored as shit with brands. I was bored with like certain activations. And I realized if just like this dude was bored, there's probably a lot more other people that were bored. So I wanted to figure out a way to promote creativity, promote curiosity, but have tangible results to it. Mm-hmm. And hospitality has always been like this like really pliable industry because it's open air. Yeah. And I wanted to challenge brands. I wanted to challenge marketing. I wanted to challenge like some of the artists that I worked with and just like, what would it look like to bring people into, your messaging, into your world?
It would look like putting that thing down, flipping it, and reversing it.
Bada boom. Yeah. Yes. It would look exactly like that. And it probably felt that same way as well. And there was always this massive push of digital, right? And I saw digital as a microphone, and I wanted to pair that with physical immersion. Yeah. And by walking a very fine line, as we do at Bico, is we're blending the art and media industries with the hospitality space. And it's where we can design your brand online, but we believe that sweet spot is the immersion into the messaging that we conceptualize and integrate all the way through. And as an extension to that ethos, we created Garnet. And Garnet is it's brand possibility through the culinary lens. Yeah. So it holds potential brands and collaborators and venues to task to not just have another dinner because, that's great and we all got to eat and that's real. But it's less about making sure that everyone leaves full, but making sure that like their spirit is enriched, that their curiosity is elevated. And when they interact with another brand, for them to be like, y'all should be doing some shit like
exactly.
this, because
building each other up.
Absolutely. And so instead of being complacent, we're just like, oh, okay, well, there's some lame shit going on. It's just like, well, there doesn't have to be lame shit. And also, you can really work amongst your community and breed creativity together. Yeah. And so as much as Garnet is, a culinary endeavor, it's highly collaborative with just, real ownership. It's just like anyone that we decide to partner with or work with, it's not micromanagement. Yeah. It's just like, I believe in you and I want to help you create as freely as possible.
It's like a legit collaboration.
Yeah. It is the industry without the four walls. So, and since we believe that, here we are, the terms of service. So there we are. Well, this has been a fun episode 00. Yeah, I was like, absolutely. I do want to take a brief moment to, thank our friends over at Blind Barber Chicago for their generous donation of the space.
Thank you so much.
Of course. And then on top of that, Plants Delivered Chicago for this gorgeous, array foliage that we have here. You said that you got, B?
Oh, yeah. Side? You got J over there. Yeah. I got B over here. Okay, J and perfect. B are birds of paradise.
Absolutely. So the oxygen levels are feeling really nice. And I'm also feeling a little tropical, which is nice because it's almost December. So
and our beverages definitely pulled it together.
Absolutely. So shout out to Ashley Christine of Garnet. And then in addition to that, Ritual Beverage, which is located here in Chicago, Illinois. Also, what we've realized is that there's there is a secret element when it comes to cocktails, and that is the quality of ice. And we want to recognize Ice Cold Justice because we love just ice out on the South Side. So thank you very much to them. And yeah, this has been fun.
This has been very fun.
Absolutely. Because as we're getting our bearings, it's important that the community feels as if they have a voice in this. Mm-hmm. We are not an island, and we invite you to reach out via Instagram at Terms of Service Podcast or directly via email, connect@termsofservice.media. Our website is currently in development, and I will let you know exactly when that launches. But for me, Justin Arnett Graham, I would just like to say, shout out to you. I had a good time. Real industry, real talk, no bullshit.
And just your girl, Nariba Shepherd, in the corner saying, until next time, jobless or jobless.
This has been Terms of Service Podcast. If you want to pick up what we've been putting down, follow us online at Terms of Service Podcast, spelled like the words in the dictionary. Don't forget to give us a like, a subscribe, share it with your friends, share it with your mom, have your aunties put it up with her cooking dinner, put us on repeat, on silent, on Spotify to get us those 0.04 cents. Yeah, we love you, Share the love.